Shalom Avrim, James Trim here. In the last few videos, I've been talking a lot about the DuTillet Hebrew manuscript of Matthew. And that's because there's just so much information. In fact, the amount of information that demonstrates that DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew is a descendant of the original first century Hebrew Matthew is overwhelming, and so much that I couldn't pack it all into one video. So the first video I did, which was just introduce the origin and some of the significance of the DuTillet Hebrew manuscript of Matthew, but I've been doing videos on different associated topics on evidence for the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting connection between the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew and the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the very exciting information. Before we get going, I need to ask people to please donate to support these videos. For those that don't know, my wife is disabled. She's chronically ill and suffers chronic pain. I am here as her caretaker, and so I need you guys to please chip in and help support these videos and help us with food, clothing, and shelter so we can continue to make videos like this, because it's very difficult to make videos like this if my wife and I are homeless. So please donate. You can do that by clicking on the donate link in the video description. And you can also do that by sending donations by PayPal to donations at wnae.org. At the making of this video, which won't be released for a few days, but at the time I'm actually making this video, our rent is past due and we don't have it. And in addition to that, there will be a number of other significant beginning of the month bills that will be hitting us, and we didn't even have the money for the rent. So hopefully by the time this video is made, we were able to cover the rent. But even so, I don't know if we were or not, because at this point in time that I'm making this video, we didn't have it. Okay, I want to ask everybody to please like these videos. We have a super high like to view ratio, and I love the fact I am flattered by the fact that all of you, so many of you, like these videos. That of the number of people that watch the video, such a high percentage of people take the time to push that like button. We have a super high like to view ratio. Number two, I want to ask everybody to please subscribe to this channel and click that notification bell so you'll get notifications when new videos come out. All of that also, and comment. Let us know what you think in the comments section, and participate in the video discussions in the comments section. And all of those things are things that YouTube looks at to decide whether to recommend us to new viewers. So you can help us out in that way. You can also help us out by sharing these videos on your social media with your friends, on Facebook, Twitter, in Facebook groups that are relevant to the subject. Obviously, don't go sharing this video on the basket weaving Facebook group, because that's just spam and nobody likes that. But if it's relevant to the group, share it. All right, I want to now move to our handouts. As is frequently the case, we have a PDF file of handouts that you can click on in the video description, and they will pull up that PDF file for you, and you can either print it out or you can look at it on a second screen, or look at it on your phone while you're watching the video screen or whatever. Okay, so this discovery I made just a few months ago. Actually, I was studying the Damascus document in the Dead Sea Scrolls in the original Hebrew, And while I was studying this document, I think it's 1QS, it's been called numerous things, but it's the Damascus document. It's the one that I always knew it as. And on column 1, lines 18 through 20, this is a portion of the Damascus document that appears to be, many scholars, I think the majority of scholars agree, that this is a portion of the text of this Dead Sea Scroll where the Essenes are criticizing the Pharisees. And it says, "For they sought smooth things and chose illusions, looking for breaches or loopholes, and chose the fairest neck, or the easiest way. They justified the wicked and condemned as wicked the righteous, and they transgressed the covenant and broke the statute." Now, this is actually referring back to a passage in the text of Isaiah chapter 30, verses 10 through 13, which say to the seers, "See not," and to the prophets, "Prophesy not to us right things. Speak to us smooth things." Remember, now it says they sought smooth things in the Damascus document. "Speak to us smooth things, prophesy illusions. Get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. Wherefore thus says the Holy One of Israel, because you despise this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon. Therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking comes suddenly at an instant." So this is clearly the passage that the Damascus document has in mind, inspiring these words. And the Hebrew for the phrase, "they sought smooth things," in the actual Hebrew of the Damascus document is drashu bechalakot. And as you're reading this in Hebrew and you read this phrase, and the context is that they've been complaining about the shoddy wall builders and using the same terminology that Yochanan the Immerser, who was very closely tied to the Essenes, and we did a whole video about that in the past, uses very similar language about brood of vipers and whatnot that is used in this same section, the same document of the Damascus documents in reference to the Pharisees. You see, the Essenes differed from the Pharisees not in rejecting oral law, as did the Sadducees, but in having a stricter oral law. They thought the Pharisees were too lax in their oral law and had too many loopholes and whatnot, as you can see in this quote. But it says, when it says they sought smooth things, and the Hebrew is drashu bechalakot, you can see that there is a wordplay here in the being used by the author of the Damascus document. That's an obvious wordplay for midrash halakha, or which would in plural be halachot. The earliest midrashim were what we call the halakhic midrashim, and they related to halacha, not under the categories of the Mishnah, but as a midrashic commentary to the Torah. They're called the halakhic midrashim. There's no doubt that the Essenes had this kind of material in mind. The Qumran community had this kind of material in mind when they said drashu bechalakot. They sought smooth things. Okay? All right, that's interesting enough. That's a very insightful information with which we can now understand the relationship between the Pharisees and the Qumran community and the dynamic between them, and it fits very well in context with Yochanan and some of the things he was saying about the Pharisees and the brood of vipers and whatnot, that the same language appears in whitewashers and whatnot, and the same language which appears in the Damascus document. Okay? What's really interesting, though, is when we now look at the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew. In Matthew chapter 11, verses 7 through 10, here the King James Version says, I'm not going to read the King James. The King James Version is in your handout. I'm going to moderize the language and say Yeshua instead of Jesus as I read this, but it's basically the traditional text. And as they departed, Yeshua began to say unto the multitudes concerning Yochanan, what went you out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken in the wind? But what went you out to see? A man clothed in soft raiment. Behold, and I have this italicized, they that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. So a man clothed in soft raiment, behold, they that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what went you out to see? A prophet? It's talking about Yochanan here. Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet, for this is he of whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before your face, which shall prepare the way, your way before you. Now what's really interesting is that the DuTillet Hebrew text of Matthew chapter 11 verse 8 for the phrase soft clothing has literally clothed in smooth things. And the Hebrew for smooth in smooth things is bechalakot. Exactly the word that is used in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And this is very fitting in the Damascus document, and this is very fitting because it's talking about Yochanan, who was so closely tied to the Qumran community and whose rhetoric about the brood of vipers and washers, whitewashers, etc., is has its exact parallel in the Damascus document, in close proximity to this area where it talks about seekers of smooth things. So this is, he's saying here, saying, but what went you out to see? So, a seeker of soft things? Were you seeking the soft things? Were you seeking this? And obviously the answer, rhetorical answer, is no. By the way, there's another parallel here in the Hebrew when it says a reed shaken in the wind, and the word for reed is a word play for the word for zealot in Hebrew, and wind is can also mean spirit, so it could be a zealot shaken by the Spirit. That's so much more in depth here in the Hebrew, the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew. But what's really exciting here is that the Hebrew of the DuTillet manuscript of Matthew uses the same word here that is indicated from the Damascus document in the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Second Temple era. This is beyond coincidence. It's got to be that the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew is a descendant of the original Hebrew Matthew, which was also a Second Temple era Hebrew document, and for that very reason used parallel language, the exact same word, in fact, that the Damascus document is using in this wordplay attacking the Pharisees for their midrashic or midrash halachot, and this wordplay between halachot and the and halachot, smooth things. Okay, All right. Thank you for all of you who like these videos, who share these videos, and who subscribe to this channel. We also need you to please donate to support these very unique videos. And at the time of the making of this video, the rent is past due. Our rent is past due. And so we definitely need your donations now more than ever. So please donate by clicking on the donate link in the video description, or sending donations by PayPal to donations@wnae.org. And you can also, we also like you to subscribe to this channel. Click on that notification bell so you'll get notifications when new videos come out. Participate in the video discussions. Let us know what you think of these videos in the comments. Share these videos on social media, Facebook, relevant Facebook groups, Twitter, etc. And just share these videos with your friends. Email them. Tape the URL to Stray Dogs. And please help us get out to new viewers. All right, until next time, shalom.